my death note was hope. Wrapped around my neck a rope. I don't got time for lies and jokes. You gon' make me go Incredible Hulk.
Hello everyone and welcome back to Fandom Pop. My name is Soul and you're watching the greatest channel on YouTube. And today we're talking about Death Note. It is a story we all know and love. It is the story about a man going on a mass genocide of justification, and it all started with a little manga, which then got adapted into
the anime, which then got adapted into the anime summary quickie version, Death Note Rewrite, which then got adapted into the Death Note film, which then got adapted into the Death Note film sequel, L Changed the World, which then got adapted into the Death Note live-action TV series, which then got adapted into the Death Note live-action American film.
Death Note. That one wasn't very good though. And after all of that bullshit, we finally have
the third Death Note live-action film, Light Up the World.
Jesus, how many of these fucking things are there? But anyway, I love Death Note. I was really into the anime. It was one of the first anime I had ever watched, and I was just blown away. But for whatever reason, I never read the manga. Until recently, was not a big manga reader. So now that this like 80-page one-shot came out, I was like, yeah, I'll give it a read. Why not? Now with how short this manga is, it's a little bit hard to talk about without getting into spoilers. So for those who don't want to get spoiled, a short, quick info summary for you. Here's some things that you can expect. There's a new Kira in town, and he's got a sick-ass haircut. Matsuda comes back, that fucking idiot. Hey look, it's Nier, he looks like a girl now. And Donald Trump receives a death note. Now let's just jump into it, spoilers and all. Again, I never read the Death Note manga, and no, I did not read the other one-shot about Nier because who cares about Nier? But as somebody who's for the most part only read like bright, colorful shonen like My Hero Academia and Dragon Ball, the style of Death Note's pretty dope. It's really dark. It's got a lot of edge to it. It's really sharp. You can't touch the pages without cutting yourselves. I finally understand all the edgelord middle schoolers who were just reading these things in the corner. I finally understand them. This is some good shit. And when we pick up the story, we got our old boy, our old Shinigami buddy Ryuk, and he's at it again. He's picking the pen back up. He's dropping the Death Note in the human world once again. This time he is much more upfront about his intentions. He's just like, I want some fucking apples. I want to be entertained too, but for the most part, I'm just here for the apples. I live in bumfuck graveyard city. There's not a whole lot of good food here. It's like the Shadow Realm back here. But there is a big difference between the new Kira and Light. Instead of just dropping the note, he literally finds a person with a really high IQ and then is just like, hey, you want a doomsday weapon? And I guess Ryuk just has like a big hard-on for Japan because he doesn't drop the book anywhere else. He's just like, nah, I'm gonna drop it in Japan again, which is kind of a dick move because the book is in English. Even the new Kira is like, yo, my man, this is in English. I'm Japanese and have a Korean boy band haircut. Like, I can't read this. And soon after we realize this is not the Death Note story that we have come accustomed to. This is going to be a different kind of way of going about it. The new Kira has no intention of killing anybody. He's just trying to sell the Death Note. He's just trying to put the shit up on eBay. And right away we know this is not going to be the same story. This is a much different story because the new Kira, who shouldn't even be called Kira, doesn't kill people. He has no intention of killing people, but we still call him Kira. That makes no sense. He just tells Ryuk, hey, big Shinigami guy, just come back in like 2 years. Don't worry, I'll still be here. I'll still have my cool haircut and everything. Everything will be the same. Just come back then, and then we'll do our master plan. His master plan of putting the Death Note up for auction and completely forgetting about it after the fact. And they even got a new person to take on the role of L. She's kind of boring. I'm not like a huge fan of her, and she... Wait, what? That's Nier? That's Nier? I guess the boring thing kind of gave it away. And as you can guess, Nier does jack shit in this manga. He literally is just spectating this entire thing without doing nada. I'm not like a huge fan of the second half of Death Note, but like one good thing I can say about it is Nier and Mello were like a formidable duo. Together, you got Nier, who's like a genius, and then you got Mello, who's trigger happy as fuck and still really smart. So together, combined, they were a big blight on Light's endeavors. But since Mello's not around, it's just Nier, just kind of twiddling his thumbs like, oh, yeah, this is what's going on right now. I could do something about it, but should I do something about it? And that's where the story kind of deflated for me, because the original Death Note was about two geniuses putting all their stakes on the line with the ultimate risk and their wits battling in this ultimate chess match of justice, whereas this story is just about a chess match between the two safest players who ultimately don't make any moves, and Nier kind of watches the other guy make a move, and then he's like, it's not really worth it, I don't want to put my effort into this. Whatever. And that's not to say I don't think this could have worked. Even if Nier is boring, I think this could have been really cool. Like, they should have had like a sniper versus sniper fight where they're just being super safe and watching each other from a great distance, but then they're just waiting for an opportunity, and then once one of them has it, they have a standoff. They might have stakes along the lines of, I don't know, confronting one another, meeting each other, which never happens in this story. And if it gets adapted into a movie or an OVA, I hope that's what happens. Because the new Kira, I want to see like where his morals lie. Like, what will he do if he has an obstacle, if he has to overcome something? What if there's a guy potentially putting his life on the line in front of him by sending him to jail if he gets caught? Will he then step up to the plate and possibly write in the Death Note? But instead, the story ends with the Death Note going on this giant auction between all the countries, and the Americans win. They outbid everybody else. And then the new Kira relinquishes the Death Note and thus forgets that he ever even had it. And the money is just distributed between all the same people who also has his bank account. So despite he's not making an enormous amount of money, he has completely got rid of any trail of evidence that might be linked to him and the Death Note. And then making his Death Note debut is Donald motherfucking Trump. But it turns out Ryuk was told by the Shinigami Lord of all death or whatever, he's told that, hey, you can't sell a Death Note. If you try to sell a Death Note, the guy who's the buyee and the seller are just gonna die. And that's just the way it is. So Donald Trump's like, shit, I guess I'll leave Bernie alone. As long as people know I got that Death Note, we all good. Hello everyone, and welcome to how to make sure your Death Note does not murder you. Now, as you can see, when you open this baby up, we got all these rules. You want to make sure you read every single rule correctly. They got a lot of them. See all that? Hopefully you read English. Otherwise, you're gonna need a little help. You're probably let's just get rid of it if you don't speak it English. Now, as you might notice, we got some names in here. Whenever you get a Death Note with like a lot of names, odds are it's got some love marks, if you know what I mean. But you wanna go to the rules, and once you find your Death Note rules, you wanna make sure you're caught up. You wanna catch up on all the rules they got, because these rules, man, they change every other day, I swear. So one that they just added is, don't sell this to Donald Trump. That's an important rule right there. That's number one. However, Ryuk does not return to our new Kira to tell him what happened with the rules. He's just like, hey, you told me not to show up ever again, so I'm not gonna show up ever again. And on a technicality, once upon receiving his money, the new Kira dies. And that's where the story ends. Which, by the way, that was the only use of a Death Note in this story called Death Note. And that's it. That's the entire story right there. I do enjoy this story, by the way. I like this more intriguing idea of, hey, let's not just have the same psychopath killer story that we've done several times over. How about a more normal guy gets it? Someone who's just trying to use it for personal benefit and not harm other people. I think that's a cool idea. And for a one-shot, yeah, why not? And also, maybe my favorite part of this whole thing was just seeing the legacy of Death Note continue. And I don't mean just old side characters returning to the story, which does happen. But this takes place in a post-Light world, and Light essentially has gone down in the history books for being this egomaniac. But there are whispers, there are people talking about him as if he is a god still. He is lived on in like conspiracy theories and the dark side of people's minds. And there's a possibility for new stories because the timeline essentially has caught up to our present day. And the sole proprietor of the Death Note on terms of the world in canon is Donald Trump. Exactly how I thought the story would end. Called it. Which apparently Donald Trump owning a Death Note is such a bad idea that even the god of death is just kind of like, Which, for the record, using this thing for mass genocide and killing who knows how many people in some kind of master plan of destruction is A-okay. But the second you try to make $1 on your side hustle off of a Death Note, your ass is grass. Anyway, thank you, and with that, I leave you.